First off, thanks for watching. These first few videos might be a little on the cringy side. I'm still trying to get a hang of this whole YouTube thing. Today we will be diving into Icewind Dale and the Rime of the Frost Maiden in a series that I'm going to call Let's Runs. I really want the Let's Runs to act as like a study guide, right? To kind of open up the collaborative thinking, as it were, get a bunch of DMs sharing ideas and really kind of help new DMs who maybe this is their first campaign or they're still new to DMing, give them some stuff to kind of work with, really open up their imagination. If you think I messed up or you've got something to add, please leave a comment below, especially as we go through this. I really want this to kind of be, a collaborative thing. You will need a book, or you can check out D&D Beyond and purchase the materials from there. I do like the D&D Beyond stuff. It's got a lot of great art, which you'll kind of see in some of my slides here. And hit up your local game shop. They're really struggling right now with everything that's going on. So if you want to pick up some boosters, maybe get some more plastic, or buy one of these white dragons here, I'm sure your local game shop would really appreciate it. Oh, and as you're going to see as we go forward, massive spoilers ahead. We're literally covering the whole book. So first off, I love this campaign. It's in stark contrast to the burning 120 degrees of smoke and fire. I'm not talking about Avernus. I live in California. Icewind Dale is set in the frozen north, beyond the spine of the world, in a place made famous by the Salvatore books and a couple of the older video games. The party is weatherlocked in Icewind Dale, and until they break the curse or finish enough of the campaign, they're kind of stuck there. The early levels do a good job of integrating the players with the folks of 10 towns, and I think that any party will have enough in connection with them to really want to save them and kind of finish the quest. I really like the idea of a snow campaign. The snow presents interesting travel challenges. It's very challenging without being very repetitive. In addition to that, we get to see some snow versions of your favorites out of the monster manual, and the campaign has a vastly different feel than some of the warmer stuff set in the southern Sword Coast. Chapter 1 runs around 10 towns and helps people get a lay of the land. It's easy leveling, paced out with a one session, one quest in these kind of mini episodes. I think this works really well, especially for me. I try and run about a 2-hour game, give or take a little at the beginning, a little at the end. And having the missions all buttoned up every week is really cool because it's an easy recap. It's not a ton for you to kind of decompress over, and it helps you expeditiously get to a point where the characters are more fun. We've got more levels, we've got a little bit more versatility. Chapter 2, we get a little bolder. The characters are 4-5-ish, and we're heading out into the frozen fringes. We've got some unique travel challenges. I really like the first part of the campaign here. It's all done with hearsay. You're picking up rumors as you're going town to town. You get a good feeling for how hard life is in Icewind Dale and a sense of the community. It also leaves a lot for the overachievers if you want to go and do every single side quest before getting into the main meat of the story. We get a snowy owlbear, which is worth buying a bunch of the booster boxes if you're trying to get one. And I'm willing to bet 80% of the parties will end up trying to keep one as a companion. Chapter 3, we leave behind the gopher quests and move into something a little bit more nefarious. We have an easy-to-hate, evil Duragard tyrant, a plot to attack 10 towns, and the party is kind of left with this behind-the-8-ball feeling, whether we're too late to kind of stop it, do we pursue the Duragard, do we try and save the towns? Chapter 4, it's a mess. You're trying to hunt down this dragon made of demonic ice. It looks like something only a Duragard would think was cool. We're scrambling to get in front of this flying weapon of mass destruction. I envision this Game of Thrones-esque scene of this dragon just obliterating houses. They really nailed the dragon part of Dungeons & Dragons. Chapter 5, pending the party is alive and well, we really get into the crux of Icewind Dale's problems, the Frost Maiden. Now, you might be thinking, how can a bunch of level 7-ish players kill a goddess? Well, they can't. But they don't have to, right? She's weakened from the magic she uses to literally stop the sun from shining. So with a little cunning, they can kind of end the curse and bring a sense of normality back to the frozen north. You thought that was all? No. Just because we beat Elsa in her frozen castle, we still have much to do. In fact, there's magical treasure to be had. In Chapter 6, we crack open a glacier and find a lost magical city. I mean, why end winter if you're not willing to enjoy the spoils of the thaw? We have some new levels now, we have some skills, it's time to put them to use in a classic D&D dungeon crawl. Chapter 7, The Doom of Ithrin. What happens to a magical floating city that crashes and gets buried under snow for hundreds of years? Only good things, probably. This final chapter has a dead city to explore, and we'll flush the characters out to level 10-ish. There's plenty of lore and ideas of what they can do after they complete it, and whereas you can go now that you've freed the realm, as it were. I know it sounds like a lot, but luckily we will break it down together. So let's dive into your session 0. So I'm a big advocate for session zeros. I think they're a really good way to kind of get together, meet everybody who's going to play, especially if you have new players. This is really important because you want to kind of create this collaborative storytelling idea. And when you make your players together rather than separately, you can kind of work on sharing a backstory, sharing common traits, or having friends together, really set that bond of fellowship early. One of the things I really hate is the standard trope of 5 adventurers that are sitting in a bar. DM says, okay, player 1, what do you look like? And you go on this rant about how unique your character is while everybody's just waiting to talk about their character and they're not really listening to you. This can really foster this team full of eyes. And what we really want is a party full of we's. By having your session 0, you can come up with a reason why you're already a party, why you're already friends. You don't have to kind of force feed that together in an awkward session 1. Building your characters together, especially as the DM at the table, you can kind of have a sense for some party balance if that's your thing. And it might make people a little bit more invested in the other characters if they had some influence in the backstory and their creation. I do like, in the Icewind Dale setting, that they've added some Icewind Dale modifications to the backgrounds if a player chooses to be from that area. Additionally, the book has a new twist on character creation. It's called Secrets. There's a long list of some bland, some sinister skeletons in the closet, as it were, that can add a lot of flavor to your characters or provide hooks for the campaign later. Like one of them is a Sladpole host. How dark is that? Overall, I really like this edition. It's great for a table full of role players if you're looking for a little extra flavor. In a session 0, you can kind of tease some of the campaign, as well as get a sense of the vibe that the table has. Are you playing with a bunch of role players? Are they a bunch of min-maxers? Are they looking for a really grindy campaign? Is it more beer and pretzels? It really kind of flushes a lot of that out. Also, you can kind of figure out who at the table you're going to need to help find their voice, who's going to be your more outspoken players. This, of course, is assuming you're running a table full of new players. Some of the good things to cover on your session 0, ask them what they like about D&D and what they're trying to achieve in the campaign. Ask them about their players and what made them adventurers and what would cause them to retire or maybe, seek out a life of luxury after they're done. You can also assign player roles. Someone to keep the calendar, someone to keep track of inventory and the supplies, someone to take notes on the locations or the NPCs. You really want to split these things up. It's not all on you. You don't want to have it all on your plate. And you don't always want to lose your place if you need to recall something. It's okay to have the players take some of this on. By doing this, you will also keep your players engaged when the story's unfolding, because each will be kind of waiting for their part, and not only to where they can add in, but also where they need to write down and keep track. It's okay to divide the labor, so you're free to be a better narrator or keep the story moving. Remember, D&D isn't people coming to hear you tell a story. D&D is friends gathering to reminisce about an adventure that they're having in real time. You are there to fill in the blanks. You add the world and its challenges. A DM is not the antagonist. It's not you versus the party. It's the party's adventure, and you're really the narrator. The books provide a framework and the rules, and that kind of is what makes it a game. But you really want to keep it from you just having these long monologues. With the party made and the players ready, let's go over some of the pre-game prep for the campaign. Prep will vary from DM to DM. Some people come with binders full of notes, others spend hours practicing voices. I like to do PowerPoint slides and have intros planned for each session. There really isn't a right or a wrong way to do this. It's kind of where your comfort level is. What I will say is that the more you prep before the game, the more comfortable you'll be on this side of the screen. And that will show for your players. It will give you ideas for when they go off the rails and maybe how to get them back. It'll cut down on your session crushing, let me read ahead kind of stuff. That can really kill the pacing of a game. For me, some of my prep that's going into this, I have a card-based inventory system that I'll share with you guys. So I've been making a lot of winter gear and winter supplies, pack dogs, sleds, stuff like that they're going to see in the campaign and will need new cards for, as well as all the magic items that are in the book. I also have PowerPoint slides for like my towns, my bars, my taverns, the NPCs, things like that, so that my player's imagination can kind of build and run with this idea. I feel like the more I give them visually, the more I give them tactically, the more role-playing they do at the table. I'll share these on the Patreon. If anybody wants to use them, feel free. What I will say is try to read a good majority of the campaign before you run your first session. What I'm going to try and do is break the book into 2-hour sessions. I find it easier for my players to chew on. It's not too long, but it's still engaging. With enough time for players to settle in at the beginning and us to clean up or shop or kind of wrap up at the end. I find this keeps from holding the story up while one person shops for gear or one person wants to indulge their character in something in the town. If you run a longer session like a Hangout Saturday, I would still recommend breaking it up into 2-ish hours and having a break to chat and kind of mull stuff over and then go on and run the next part. This will really help manage the pacing. Just like a movie, you want to build suspense and kind of mitigate your lulls. Well, what'd you think? What'd I miss? For you vets, what'd you like? For you newbies, I hope you found this useful and join me for the rest of the chapters. Please, 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 bonus action the like button and consider subscribing. I really love this game, and every time a new person sees D&D content, it's a chance for a new player at your table, so leaving a like really helps me out. Lastly, roll high, guys, and I'll see you next video.